today. So every day we start fresh because we can't affect the past, but we damn sure can make a difference today.
Welcome to episode 2 of Shop Talk. Today we're covering this Sunday's episode 310. I'm one of your hosts, Jennifer. I'm joined by Kari.
Hi.
Sunday night's episode was good. We had all of the content from Chen and Wes. Are we calling them Juicy now? Or like Jaxie? I don't know. To Tim and Angela, there was so much. There were quite a few full circle moments in this episode too, like the Academy flashback, Nolan's bank robbery, and Lucy's parents' disapproval. So I think we should cover some of the news first and then dive right in. We don't have much news. We kind of covered episode descriptions last week, but on Sunday we received an awesome notification. Melissa followed our Twitter account and shared the pod with the cast in their group chat. And quite literally, we have no words. It's been like a full 24 hours, and we're still just amazed that it even happened.
I mean, I cried, but that's just me because Hi, Melissa. Love you.
At least you weren't out in public when it happened. That's all I gotta say.
But yeah, no, I mean, like in all seriousness, guys, like we're just like so beyond grateful. We haven't even had this for like a week, for crying out loud, and like overwhelming amounts of support has been fantastic. So thank you.
And you can listen to us on Podbean and Spotify, but we're also on Apple Podcasts now. So you can listen to us that way if you're an Apple user. But if you see anything floating around on the internet news-wise, please send it our way, whether it's promo photos, episode descriptions, sneak peeks. We'll probably see it anyway, but the episode or the internet is big, so please send it our way.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so let's jump into episode 310 titled Man of Honor. Do you want to take Jackson and Lucy?
Sure. So if you guys saw the episode, which we're assuming, most of you guys did, they open with a lovely little montage of Lucy Chen, Jackson West, and John Nolan in their last days of the academy. So leading up to, their rookie year when they're actually going to be recruits. And they were all so cute, and we loved how we actually got to see like scenes with this trio, because we hadn't we haven't seen just those three being around each other in a setting quite like that in a while, at least in this season. So it was really cute. Jackson and Lucy, cutest best friend duo. We loved seeing them together. I just really enjoyed, like, me personally, I just liked the little bits of like competition that they had between John and Lucy too. Like, who knew Lucy Chen was such a badass boxer? So
I like that we saw them all as friends, like in the beginning. It wasn't like they just started at the district and were kind of like grouped up together. They were friends in the academy and like, worked through it all the way through. So,
yeah. And then we, find out like why Lucy wanted to become a police officer. When Jackson asked, to give like a kind of speech like answer, and she said that she wants, like make an impact, make a difference, like truly help people, which is then something obviously as the episode continues, that's a very, strong theme for her character throughout this episode, which is nice that it kind of comes back around in the end.
Yeah.
So.
And then we got a good flashback.
Oh, yes. Captain Anderson. We miss you. Mercedes Mason, if you do ever happen to listen to this, I just got to know, like, did you come back for this episode? Like, was it a truly, like deleted scene that was previously filmed for season 1? I know Melissa posted to Instagram a few years ago now that there was a season 1 graduation scene that was deleted that was previously filmed. But if you looked at last night's episode, if you're kind of like me and pick up on details like that, Zoe's hair was much darker than it had been in season one. So like, I need answers because obviously, Lucy, Jackson, and Nolan's scenes were filmed during season three because you had Lucy's, lower ponytail
Mhm.
and Jackson's closer cropped hair. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it was so cool to see. I was so surprised to see a little bit of the captain. So,
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. And I don't know about you, but like in that scene where she was talking, I was looking at all the officers sitting around her, looking for like anyone from the LAPD, like Wilshire district. But yeah,
yeah,
I
I
didn't
was
pick up on anyone.
yeah, I was just so yeah, like you said, like it was so unexpected. I was just kind of like, oh, my eyes were like going everywhere. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like what is this? When did, like just everything. But oh, we miss her, just
We
like
do.
John and Lucy do. Uh as they mentioned as they finished watching the I guess it was a graduation like video that had
Yeah.
been put together. So yeah, and then they go on. Do you want to keep on talking?
Yeah,
Um,
so they like cut back to present day, and they're kind of, getting ready for shift, and they're sitting down at roll call, and they're like, don't speak to, or Jackson and Lucy had said don't speak to us on duty, obviously in a jokingly manner. And Jackson had said, seriously, we can't be socializing with a lowly P1. Just their like teasing and harassment, kind of, I say harassment in quotes, but like I just love their friendship. I mean, it's obvious that they really like bonded in the academy, and they really kind of came up as a little group. And it's cool that they didn't get separated. I mean, obviously it's for the show, but
right.
I just like that, they have such a good friendship. So
Yeah.
then we see like roll call happen, and Jackson and Lucy obviously want the recognition for them moving up. And I think that's just so cute. Like they're so eager to be on the police force like by themselves now. They don't have a TO watching over them. They're like they're in it for themselves, and they're on their own, but they also have each other with them. And Jackson had said this line, don't ruin it by overthinking. And honestly, like that's easier said than done, because I overthink pretty much everything, so
Yeah.
I can relate to Lucy on that.
Oh
um,
yeah, never in my life have I related to a line more of don't
yeah.
ruin it by overthinking. Like that is me. So yeah, it was good job writers for putting in that relatable little line there. So
Yeah. And then, I mean, they're like little fist bump, and, just them saying go with the flow because we're P2s now. And like Jackson just kept saying that. And I just, their fist bump, their friendship. I mean, and not only do they live together, but now they're like partnered up on the streets together. I just need all of their scenes, and I need all of their scenes gift. Someone please gift all of them for me.
yeah, or if you find any gifts on in the Twitterverse, tweet them at Jennifer because she will love you
Yes.
forever.
Yes. Um, and then, we see them like finally sit down at roll call, and Gray calls them, like calls out their names, and they like stand up, and Nyla's just in the back smiling, like, what is going on? But I'm also here for this. And he just comes out with this one line saying, what do you want me to do? Throw you a party? Like
Yes.
totally, serious. And I just loved that, he was like, I'm not going to sit here and like coddle you with it. You're here to do a job. So
Yes.
I loved
Yeah.
that. So then, we kind of see them like get out into the shop, driving together, and Jackson's texting like with his family, and he invites Lucy to dinner with his family, but she says her parents are coming over, and they might be coming around to her being a cop. So um, then as they're driving, we're finding out what they can't like. We're finding out more about their relationships, kind of with their TOs. And Jackson says it's really hot in here, and Lucy says, well, we can't turn on the AC before noon. And then she's like, but that was a Tim rule. So, and Tim's not here, so we can do it. They called the shots now. And it's so cute to see them like all giddy about that, because really for them, it's the little things. So,
Yeah. And I just like, well, just as you were talking about that scene, when Jackson turns on the actual like car radio or stereo, and
yeah.
the music comes on. I don't know why that made me think of another one of Titus's TikToks where he was like singing, like, well, lip syncing lyrics, and then had Melissa try to join in, and she like kind of butchered it. And it just made me think of that TikTok. Like, I don't know if that's when they did
I
that
think it
scene,
is.
or
I feel like it is.
if y'all don't know what I'm talking about, like I said in the last episode, go watch Titus's TikToks. They're fantastic. So yeah.
I feel
But
like it
anyway,
is the TikTok from this episode, because we never see them driving together before this,
yeah, that's true. I
and they
mean,
were
like
in
it has to
uniform.
be, especially since they like switch off driving in this
Yeah.
episode a couple times. So
Which
I
was
don't know.
nice to see, because with the
Yeah.
TOs, it was like mostly the TOs driving.
Hmm.
So it was, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously one of them has to drive, they're not TOs, but
Yeah.
yeah, so it was really cool. So then they roll up on their first scene as a P2, as P2s. We get another little fist bump. And they're just so excited, so just precious little BBs. That's what they are. And so then they get there, and the detective thinks that they're TOs, or not TOs, rookies, I'm sorry. But all they have to do is watch over a chocolate bar that is evidence. I don't know if you caught Lucy's face in this as she looked down at the chocolate bar, but that is me. Like
Yeah. Oh my god.
probably 80% of the time.
Yeah, she was so not having it, but she was just, I mean, she was so great about it though, because she was like, sir, we're not actually, boots, we're
Yeah.
P2s, and the detective just, I mean, could care less, couldn't care less, however that expression goes,
Yeah.
just did not really care. Just all he wanted them to do was stand there and guard that chocolate bar like everything depended on it, because at the time it did.
Jackson was so dedicated to saving the evidence. I mean, like he even had at one point a fan blowing cold air from like an ice pack onto the chocolate, and Lucy blocking the
Yeah.
sun.
Uh-huh.
And he was so serious and dedicated about it, and Lucy was just like, seriously, come on, this
Yeah.
is. But so then we find out the suspect is arrested. They're done with the chocolate duty. The chocolate was not even evidence in the first place, apparently.
Yeah.
And the next call is the wedding shop scene. So we
Yeah.
saw that little, sneak peek of Chenford and Westlow together.
Mhm.
Um, and then they're called by John to help find a little girl who's been taken hostage. They had a very busy like first 2 days as
They really did. Oh my
P2s.
goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, on that last call, they got to kind of use their skills that they
Mhm.
had learned from, their academy year and being rookies. And one of the things that I really liked about that scene was not only like their confidence, but also like the specifics that they decided to point out were things that they learned with their TOs themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, principles of concealment was a part of the deer method that, Mr. Tim Bradford taught Lucy how to think like a crook.
Yeah.
And so that was something that she, took along with her to use here to, find, okay, are they using, like the windows are all, blocked off. The suspects are messy, like the trash was, spilling out everywhere. So
Mhm.
obviously they knew that they had found their house. So I like little scenes like that call back to earlier times in the show. I think are really cool.
Yeah. I feel like at that point Lucy was like, those Tim tests really paid off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, so then we get a little line from Jackson, because Jackson is like very focused on it, right? Like we see him kind of he's usually like comedic. He's kind of like our comedic humor. I mean, all of the characters are, but Jackson, I feel like we get quite a bit of humor from him. And in that scene, he was very like on point. He wanted to make sure that the job was done right and that that little girl was found. So, he just let out the line, "Damn, we're good." And yes, they are. I love their partnership, and I hope that we see more.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
also hope that since they are like P2s now, I wonder if we'll see them partnered up with the TO still. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure that we will. So,
Yeah.
but I just like I have to know their friendship and their banter is like no other. I mean, we see them kind of roll out or like walk out from where they get all of their equipment, and they say day 2 on our own, let's roll. And then Lucy says, "You're going to say that every day," kind of like teasing him. And he just says seriously, like, "Let's roll. What, you don't like it?" And she just teases him again. So I love their partnership, their banter. I love how they kind of watch out for each other, and we see that at the end too.
Hmm. Yeah. And then back to, I know we had mentioned their last call on scene, or on their shift, I mean, was trying to find this girl, which we'll get into more later with Nyla and John, how that kind of works its way
Mhm.
in. But they had to, they found their little house that the girl was in, and Lucy was so just like calming and reassuring, which was like a nice presence for the girl to see, to be able to feel safe enough to remove herself from the
Yeah.
dangerous situation. And not that everyone will care about this, but if you did happen to watch this week's Chicago PD, then a character on that show, Haley Upton, had her own experience with a traumatized girl,
Yep.
and was in a way that the scene that Lucy was talking so gently to the girl paralleled a scene where Haley had found or rescued a girl from a case that they had. And so it's just very there's so many little parallels between those shows that if we
Especially in these
ever,
2 episodes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like if we ever did get a crossover, I would just, I don't even know what I'd do.
I mean, I'm just saying I have ideas for a crossover. There's like a few ways that it could play out.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I mean, there's quite a few Chicago PD fans that watched The Rookie. I mean, we could make it happen.
yeah, we really could. But yes, point of that being, God bless Canada for giving us Melissa O'Neill, and obviously from The Rookie, and then Tracy Spiridakis is from Chicago PD, who plays Haley. So bless those two women for portraying such strong, big-hearted characters this week, especially. So
I need the 2 of them to be friends. Like,
please,
just interact something. I need it.
please, please, begging. That's all we want, really. But anyway, we digress again slightly. Um,
I mean, if you're not watching Chicago PD, like just go and watch this last episode, 811, Signs of Violence, and you'll be like sold, I'm sure.
yeah,
Just
it
go
really
watch
was.
it.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, like, speaking of though, like, I mean, this week's episode and I feel like next week's episode for The Rookie are like gonna be like, this week's is very detailed, I feel like, and then I feel like next week's is gonna be a like next level kind of uh episode, because it's going to tackle a real world issue again. And like,
Yeah.
I'm excited, like I really do feel like this season 3 for them is like next level elevated, like
I feel like
top
it's
notch.
their best season yet. I mean, we're
Yeah.
only 10 episodes in, but we all know that seasons are being cut short. So
Mhm.
I feel like it's one of their best seasons. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
so now back to The Rookie, because we've kind of digressed off to Chicago PD, our other you know, favorite show. So let's get back to The Rookie.
Yeah, okay. So back to well, we're still on Lucy Chen. Her, her we mentioned earlier her parents were going to come over for dinner. Um, her dad does not show up, but her mom does. Her mom unfortunately has other motives,
Mhm.
as opposed to being like, Jackson's parents and, being all congratulatory and super excited. Uh she is very like uncomfortable with the idea of her daughter still wanting to, pursue this
Yeah.
cop profession. She like her mom like you can tell like her mom wants to be proud of her, um but she just wishes that it was,
A different profession.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and Lauren Tom plays Lucy's mom. um
Yeah.
was, yeah, back for this episode. uh Fantastic. So I mean, because they played that dynamic so well, like you'd
Yeah.
really, if you weren't like familiar with the show or something and you just saw that scene, you'd really like, want to like delve deeper into that mother daughter
Hmm.
dynamic, which I think is just really interesting. So
Yeah, that scene was, I mean, it was powerful, I think. It was just the one line that her mom had said, "You want to help people, become a doctor." I had seen something on Twitter, and they had said this is the typical stereotype for Asian Americans. And it truly is. Certain ethnicities are stereotyped to be in certain professions. And I don't know. I think
mhm,
it's time to break those stereotypes in the glass ceiling. And Lucy is a female cop and Asian American. She's fighting so many barriers and deserves to have a great support system. So, I mean, even though it sucks that her parents aren't supportive, I'm glad that she has that support system in her friends,
yeah,
Jackson and all of them.
yeah. And like Jennifer had just touched on, she's like a minority, but also she's a woman in a traditionally male dominated field, and so like to have that added impact of someone important like her mom saying, that she should, become a doctor because that's what, her parents did, and becoming a psychologist, uh, was kind of essentially confirming that fear of like, oh crap, like, is this the right path for me? Should I have, not dropped out of grad school, to pursue this? And so it's just a sad confirmation and a sad like realization that she had, because
Yeah.
when Lucy cried, I I cried a little bit, and my fangirl heart was thinking still though how perfect it would have been to have her call Tim Secret Softy Bradford for a pep talk. So rookie writers, when
When
is
is
that
that going to
happening?
happen? You
Yeah,
know,
please.
um, yeah, so then we kind of find out like afterwards Lucy's being a little like off towards Jackson. And towards the end of the episode we find out he called her mom to see what she was hiding, and her mom kind of, told him what she had said. So again, what a great best friend Jackson West is. I mean, best friend,
Yes.
roommate, everything. And I mean, like earlier in the episode, he kind of gave her a knowing look of like, I know you're probably not telling me everything, but I'll let it slide.
Yeah,
Um,
because they were at work. They didn't want it, like, keep things separate as much as possible,
yeah.
especially, since they were first, it's their first couple shifts as P2s. They want to be focused, but
Focus.
they still, like checked in with each other. So, it's like, yeah, they just do the line between, like professionalism and friendship.
Yeah.
So
Like
it's
that line is very clear with them.
hmm yeah.
So then, we find out that like Jackson's family gave him a necklace, which is the Saint Michael, I believe.
Yeah,
And
patron
so
saint of
then
cops. Hmm.
at the end of the episode, he gives her a necklace like that too. And just kind of says like she always has a place with his family. So, I mean, I'm not crying, you're crying, but also like the there was a tweet about the two men in Lucy's life giving her important jewelry. And
I'm an emotional
Lucy
wreck
was
over.
still wearing the ring in that scene.
Yep.
So just
Yep.
putting that out there. I mean, I'm all here for Lucy Chen having supportive men in her life.
Please.
That's it. So then we move on to Angela and Tim, and this. So I said earlier that Jackson and Lucy are a great best friend duo, but like also Angela and Tim are. Like,
Oh, yes.
I just want to know more backstory about how they became closer, and like, I mean, did they go through the academy together? I don't know. I would like to know. Give me all of the
I
backstory.
feel like Angela knows so much about Isabel. Like she would have had to have been, uh, a close
Mm-hmm.
friend or some kind of confidant in that time
Yeah.
period of their life. I was here for the Isabel mentions though too. Speaking
Yeah.
of knowing Tim's background, I was here
Yeah.
for the little wedding uh connections there.
Yeah, we did get some Tim backstory, and all I'm saying is I need more of it. I am here for backstory on like any character. So, um, but like the first time that we see Tim, he's calling Kojo boot,
Yes.
and it just gives me all the feels. I just want to know like how Eric Winter gets his voice that low and he says boot, because honestly, like I don't know how to explain it. But Kojo is not moving on their walk. Like he is
No.
done. And
Yeah.
then all Tim has to say is, "You want a steak?" and Kojo's out of there. So
Yep. I just
like, I
it
kind
was
of
so
relate
great
to that.
though. It was so great because like we hadn't seen Tim with Kojo since he took him in for Lucy. So I
Hmm.
just need a family photo, a family reunion. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't even need to say it. Just needs to happen because they're just adorable.
I mean, I don't know. I would like to think in my head that Lucy goes over there like once a week, maybe even like 3 times a week, just to play
She
with
has to.
Kojo.
Yeah,
And
and
Tim
just
is there.
does not even care about Tim. Like, hi
Yeah.
Tim, bye Tim. She's just coming to see the dog.
Does Lucy have a key to Tim's apartment to like let out Kojo when Tim can't?
We need to know these things, guys. We gotta know. Of course, did you see Tim's like house or like the backdrop? Like that was a nice place.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I'm here for it. Like,
Yeah.
can we please see more of Tim's uh, you know, like can he do like a MTV like welcome to my crib style like scene or something? Like that'd be hilarious.
I would watch like 30 minutes of that.
It'd be
So,
so great.
and
So
then just
great.
put Kojo in there. Yeah. And then we'll,
Yeah.
Lucy just makes like an entrance, surprise entrance. I'm here for
Yeah.
that.
Please. No, but like Tim calling Kojo boot reminded me of the what was it, season 2, episode 12 of the, you know,
That
Tim was talking
parallel.
to Lucy, yeah, about like how, she doesn't have any quit in her. And she was like, "No, sir, I get that from you." Like she was, so it just kind of paralleled the phrase that he was yelling at poor Kojo. Failure is not an option. Boots
Yeah.
don't quit, that kind of thing. So
I just loved that we saw Kojo again. Like we haven't seen him since that one episode where we saw Tim like walking to him at the end.
hmm yeah,
Tim is definitely the best dog dad around. That's that.
yeah,
And I need to see more of it.
yeah, for
So
sure.
again, we digress
A
on
little
to Tim
bit,
Bradford.
yeah, just a little.
But as he's like talking to Kojo in like his stern voice, we see he gets a text from Angela with not very much information, not even like the name of the location where she's at. It's just the address. And it's a 911 text of like, "I need you here now." So he meets her there, but he didn't like put two and two together, I don't think, as he like
No,
walked in. And he just like walks in and walks into like the area where she's at and is like, "Is the baby coming?" But we find out she kicks her bridesmaids out when they tell her that she has to camouflage her belly, which good on her for doing. I
hmm
mean,
yeah,
also like you can't tell Angela Lopez what to do. You just
no,
can't.
you really can't.
So
Like pregnant or not though, like no, We are not here for the like body judgments, people. Like, good for
Yeah.
her for, taking a stand and being like, nope, I'm
Yep.
gonna do this myself because it is my body. Like,
Yep.
pregnant or not, good for her. But especially since she's pregnant because she's extra hormonal.
Yeah.
So
I
don't.
mean, she could have waited until after she had the baby to get
That's
married,
true.
but you know, she
Mhm.
wants to get married pregnant. And honestly, like I love that. So,
Yeah.
um, and then Tim's like, "You really called me on a 911 on my day off to ask if this dress makes you look fat." And he's just so bluntly honest with
Yeah,
her.
because she was just like, well, does it? And he's like, yes. And it
Yeah.
was just, I was, oh my gosh, I died laughing. It was so great.
But then he gives Angela a nice little pep talk, and honestly, I just love his pep talks. I love everyone's pep talks in in this show.
Yeah. hmm Yeah. No one
Um,
ever, it doesn't ever sound like contrived or like,
no, like forced,
yeah,
nothing.
it's great.
But we find out that Tim has a niece, and honestly, I need to see Chenford with a child, whether they're canon or not. I need to see it because after we saw Lucy with that little girl, and we hear about
Right.
Tim with a niece,
Mhm.
Carrie, I need it.
I know.
Like,
Well,
I
like, and
need it
like
more
how,
than just a fanfic. I need it like on my
yeah,
screen.
yeah. Well, like, and how you had said, that his voice like got lower when he was talking to Kojo. His voice like got a little bit like different. Like I didn't know if that was like, Eric Winter just like, because he's a dad in real life,
Yeah.
talking about kids, like if that just kind of, like played itself into it, but it was so cute. I just like, oh, like Tim Bradford. Can Tim Bradford please become a Dadford? That'd be great. Thank you. Thank you for
I
listening.
like that. A Dadford. I like that.
That's a Tumblr thing. Miss Melissa O'Neill, if you're ever on Tumblr, you will see that, I'm sure. Just
So then
putting it
we
out
find
there.
out that Tim is like prepared to stay there until she tries on every single dress, which best friend goals, but he's also like checking the time on his phone. So I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, typical guy there. When guys are with girls shopping, like, you're not gonna have like their full attention all the time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But we see his reaction to her in a wedding dress and the one that she likes best, and it was perfect. People are already saying like, they're just theorizing that's what it's going to be like when he sees Lucy, and I'm like, I don't know about that, not yet. Can't theorize out that far. I don't
I
like to get my hopes
mean,
up.
he could be speechless. It's probably a possibility. I don't know.
If he's not, then what are we even doing?
This is true.
I mean, come on. um but also like I need this wedding to happen like soon,
Mhm.
and I want to know when it is happening so that I can mentally and
Yeah.
emotionally prepare myself.
Yeah. Well, when I was telling you that I was watching that Instagram live that they did a few weeks ago with
Yeah.
Titus and Alyssa and Sean were on there, and I just remember him saying, Sean Ashmore who plays Wesley, if y'all didn't catch who I was talking about. And he had said that like people were gonna be, a little bit surprised as to who, was helping Angela with the wedding, and like lo and behold, it is, you know, Tim Bradford coming to the
Yes.
rescue. Like I just think that's great. Like
Yeah.
it's
It
just
really
great.
shows their friendship.
hmm Yeah.
So then like his reaction to her in the dress is I think he's a little shocked at first because he just says whoa, and then I mean it's very short. Whoa, yeah, you think so? Oh yeah. And honestly, like if I haven't said that I love Tim Bradford and Angela Lopez enough, like I'm saying it again. I love them and I love this friendship.
Yeah. And then so like their, lovely little friendship moment is kind of interrupted as,
Yeah.
as it only could be on this show, by a I'm gonna call it a brawl. It's a brawl over a dress. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, there's two women going at it, trying to fight over this dress that they both want. And Tim being Tim, we're not getting involved unless someone loses a limb. You should probably film it for evidence though, which he does. So he gets out his phone, he is going to town, and then cue everyone's new favorite pairing of Jackson and Lucy showing up to tackle this scene
Yes.
we adore. So it's great. And then Oh, is this where Angela? Yeah.
Yeah.
Jackson asks Angela what she's doing there. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Angela, what are you doing here? I'll give you three guesses. I mean, the absolute sass that,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it was great.
I think he was just so focused on, like the job at hand. But
Yeah.
oh, it was adorable.
Yeah.
And then we get a cute little Chenford moment. The first one all episode long, which I mean, we weren't even that far into the episode, were we?
No.
No.
No. Mm-mm.
But we see Lucy like tease Tim about helping Angela, and then they're sprayed with champagne.
Mhm.
Jackson and Lucy are, and Tim's like, I'm watching you not do your job right now. So, the sass that these TOs have, I mean, they have to because, like, they're,
Mhm.
mentoring these rookies are now P2s, but I'm so here for all of the sass.
Yeah.
So then Angela and Tim are watching from the back. And Angela just says, like, kind of quietly, they grow up so fast, don't they? And I don't know. It was such a cute scene. I mean,
Yeah.
I just love those four together, like in scenes.
Mhm.
I just want more of it. So then when one of the women wants to run off with the dress, like I don't know if this was part of Lucy's plan or what, but she puts like her arm out and then Tim sticks his foot out to help her or to like stop her.
Yeah.
And just the teamwork that Chenford has, even when they're not partnered up together, chef's kiss.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Yeah, it was so great. And then, obviously, of course, as Lucy is arresting said suspect and is covered in like what the dress had feathers on it or something. Somehow she gets covered
Yeah.
in feathers too,
Yeah.
along with the champagne. And Tim, being Tim, is still filming this,
Yeah.
for evidence, quote unquote. But my favorite thing about that whole entire scene was just the looking good, Officer Chen, looking good. Like, but he's not
Yeah.
saying it, he's saying it in that very, if you watch the show, then his way of
Uh-huh.
uh, you know, giving her like, you know, compliments, but they're not really compliments, but they you know what I mean. Like they are, but they're kind of not. Like it's just very him.
The
And
gift that was floating around Twitter during the scene was the "You're doing amazing, sweetie." And
yeah.
honestly, that was like the perfect gift to describe it.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Because it's not the first time that they've been like,
that he's been
filmed
like
each
that.
other on their phones either.
Yeah.
So
I will say that to me it was a little like odd not having Angela and Tim at the district like the first day.
yeah.
I don't know, it felt weird. I was like, I feel like they should be there for like,
Mhm.
Jackson and Lucy's first day as P2s, but yet I feel like that would psych Jackson and Lucy out, so maybe
Uh-huh.
not. But
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
I don't know.
especially because like they had, they went into the roll call room and then like I got excited at the beginning of the episode because I saw, Nyla was there, and I was like, oh, okay, are they gonna, I know with like COVID and the pandemic, you can't, they haven't been able to do those kinds of scenes where everyone's
Mhm.
together, but like,
Yeah.
I got a little glimmer of little glimmer of hope there, and then I was then reminded of Melissa's thing that she said on IG Live a few weeks ago. Of like that was the one scene that she kind of like wanted if she had a perfect world was to have a
Yeah.
roll call scene or like a scene where they're all together. So I got a little too excited, but it's
Yeah.
okay. It was
Did
still it was
we
still cool to
we
see.
didn't get a roll call the second day.
Mm-mm.
No, I didn't think so.
Yeah, I
But
don't think.
there's always next episode.
Mhm.
We have a few more.
Yeah, yeah,
So then we see Tim and Angela at her apartment and they're going over food items. They were testing cakes, weren't they? Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
And honestly, like where was my invite? Because, that's like perfect.
You just want cake though. Like I just want cake.
Yeah, but I mean I would love to just like hang out with Tim and Angela.
That's
I
true.
probably wouldn't say much, but I would just hang out with them. So
That's fair.
but she mentions how Patrice doesn't want an ethnic food. Um, and Patrice is
It's Wesley's
it's Wesley's
mom.
mom, and
Yeah,
she's a bridezilla, pretty much.
yeah, kind of.
And Tim pretty much just says, well, screw Patrice, and she can answer to him.
Yeah.
Again, Tim Bradford, best friend goals, man of honor goals, just everything.
Which then, leads Angela to have this lovely idea of formally asking Tim to be her man of honor. And I just love how she like got up off the couch and like started to bend down despite being pregnant. And he just is like, sit back down. Like, what are you doing? Like he was so confused. And even though he said, that's not really a thing, like being a man of honor is not a title, he does accept. And then my second favorite line after, Tim saying that Lucy looks good covered in feathers and champagne is Angela being like, first thing you need to do is fire Gretchen. And Gretchen is her current
maid of honor.
Maid of honor. Yes, thank you. I was like I was gonna mess that up. And Tim, poor Tim, the second time, and it's the second time in like 2 episodes that he said what? Like he's so shocked that he has to do something or that someone's told him something. It was great.
I don't know why, but I love his confused and like shocked expressions.
Yeah.
And like the stuff that comes out when it's just like one line or it's one word, but it's just the best.
Yep. Bravo, Eric. Bravo.
I'm complete Tim Bradford trash, clearly.
Excuse me. Me too. Hello.
I mean, if Kari and I aren't screaming over Chenford, we're probably screaming over Tim Bradford in our DMs and text messages. So, yeah, there's that. So then we find out, like the next day, Tim kind of walks up to Angela, and she was like, "Please don't bail on me," and he says, "I never go back on my word." He says it so confidently and like reassures her. And then he thinks that Angela should be the one to fire Gretchen. And Gretchen's already in the building. So
yes.
when Gretchen says, I'm looking for Angela Lopez, Angela's like, peace out, dude. I'm not here. So then he goes into the reception area and Gretchen thinks that he has a connection with strippers. I'm assuming she's just putting 2 and 2 together because he's a cop. I don't know. But she was like, "Are you interested in making little extra cash?" And his face here, he was just like straight face, like, "What are you even saying to me right now?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he's like, "No, I think you need to be fired or whatever." And he says like, "I'm the new man of honor," and Gretchen's like not even upset about it. She's like, "You can have the job. I'm done." But yeah, she says it's been a nightmare due to Patrice and pulls out a wedding binder. And, usually like when you're planning a wedding, the bridezilla is usually the bride, but in this case it's the mother-in-law. So
yeah. And when we say binder, like we're talking like it is packed full of like photos and things that like only Patrice would approve. So like it was like her way or the highway was this binder and this darn phone that like would go off every 5 seconds with notifications from Patrice to Gretchen. But now they're all going to go to Tim because it is now Tim's responsibility.
And Tim's face just says it all. Like when he's looking at all this, he's like, this is not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
But he's got a way of working around it like he always does. It is Tim Bradford after all. And towards the end, like they walk out, Tim and Angela, to their cars, or the roof, something like that. And then, he said he showed her the wedding binder in the garage and he like sprays lighter fluid on it and then they put a match on it and light it up. And so then, he just says like, no one's going to tell you how to plan this wedding. Like it's your wedding. And then I believe it was the phone like goes off again. And, so he was like, and we're dumping that in the garbage too.
Yeah.
Which, okay, for me, like I wouldn't have done that, I don't think, just knowing like the repercussions. But then they, um, you know, for like a split second after they were like, that lithium battery is gonna like blow up in there,
Oh
and then
yeah,
they
I thought
just
that's where
step
you're
back.
going with that. Yeah, I was like, oh.
But to me, they didn't even step back that much. I was like, Angela, you are
No.
pregnant. Step like
Yeah,
10
I
feet
did
back,
too. I
please.
was like, yeah. But I just really liked how it well, I think it was the rookie Twitter account tweeted that it's, like all about doing what makes you happy, which
Hmm.
I think is like so important, especially on a special day
Yeah.
like your wedding. And Miss Angela Lopez deserves everything good and amazing in the world. And that includes her wedding day being absolutely perfect, just how she wants it. So I am here
Well,
for it.
and in the beginning of the show, we kind of found out like Angela, has kind of, it hasn't been like overshadowed all of her life, but she's, I mean, she didn't have a dad there, so she was the only girl. So she really does deserve like a really memorable and special wedding day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Alyssa had said I know I keep going back to this Instagram live, guys, but like it was so good. If you guys didn't watch it from a couple weeks ago, you should.
there was so much
But
content that was shared, like
yeah, well,
little
because Alyssa
nuggets.
was like, well, maybe, well, she had said Richard, who's, Richard Jones, Sergeant Gray, could maybe, like walk her down the aisle since,
Yeah.
Angela doesn't have a dad. Like, well,
And
my
Tim
heart,
Bradford can't do it because he's the man of honor.
nope.
We should share that Instagram live, like the link on our Twitter,
We
because
really
it,
should.
it
We
deserves to
we
be
will
shared.
definitely go do that. It was yeah, it was great. But anyway, we move on then next to John and Nyla. Um and for them well, they're they don't actually start off at the district together.
No.
Start off with John being at home. And Ben comes back, his landlord slash, best friend
Hmm.
from was he in season 2? Oh my goodness, no. He just was in season 1, right? I
Yeah, I
think.
don't think we saw him in season 2.
But anyhow, so that's where he's from originally. And he came by with, I want to say, champagne or wine or some kind of other alcohol
Yeah.
to celebrate. All three of them he thought were
Hmm.
P2s now. And the awkward moment was, John having to be like, no, I still have 30 more days.
Yeah.
Um, but he wasn't the only one with a surprise because, according to Ben, John's son Henry is getting comfortable in a new job,
Hmm.
which doesn't really track with, with Nolan because as far as he knew, Henry was a full-time college student. So what's he need a full-time job for?
Yeah. And
uh,
Ben helped Henry get that job. So
yes.
John's kind of just taken by surprise. Like, what? Why am I being blindsided here?
Yeah.
Just a little like weird side note. I wonder if um when Ben had originally stopped by, if it was meant for like all four of them to enjoy that champagne, or if it was just for John and Ben, and then like he saw Lucy and Jackson there, and he was like,
Oh, maybe.
"Okay, let's wrap." I don't know. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
just again, I'm overthinking, and
Hmm.
it probably wasn't even meant like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So then we can carry on with John and Nyla because I like to just digress. So
Yeah. Well, gosh, see, I can't even remember where do we first is not. Oh no, Nyla's at the district sitting
Nyla's at
behind.
roll call. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There was
Got
so
it.
much that
Got it.
happened in this episode.
Yeah. Oh goodness. Um. Oh well. Do you want? You can talk about her first sassy moment because she is your favorite person. So you have at it.
I mean, in addition to me being trash for Tim Bradford, I am trash for Nyla Harper. So I will just put that out there right now. She is sitting at the table that, all the TOs usually sit at, and Jackson and Lucy are trying to find, somewhere to sit. They say we can't sit in the front because that's where the rookies sit. And they saw Tim and Angela's open seats. So they thought, oh, well, we'll just sit here. And Nyla, I want to say, was doing like paperwork or something. And she's like, oh, hell no, keep moving, go go on. And Lucy was like, that hurt in high school and that hurt now. And I just, again, I love Nyla and her sass. So
Yeah.
and then we see John kind of like come in, and he's getting like Henry calls back right before roll call. And we find out quickly that, Henry's dropping out. And right as Gray walks in, like John yells, "You're dropping out." But Gray kind of reprimands him. And I say that again in air quotes because it wasn't like a reprimand. It was more just like another little dig at him and his age.
Yes.
And yeah, so then Gray was like, Officer Nolan, you better be taking a 911 overflow call from dispatch. Do you want to add another week to your 30 days extension? You're already the oldest rookie here. Do you want to become the longest serving one too? He never forgets to bring up that Nolan is the oldest rookie there. And I don't know. I mean, it's funny, but I'm also like, when does the joke like become old? I don't know.
Is that not like the definition of irony?
I mean, I don't know. Also, I want to know like the age difference between Gray and Nolan.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Again,
know.
it's the little things for me. Like I need the little details.
I'm curious now.
Yeah. So
if
then
you guys know, if it's been said and we just completely missed it, or if you guys figure it out, let us know.
Yeah. I don't know.
Tweet us or something. I don't. Yeah, I have no
I
idea.
don't know though. And so then we find like they go through roll call, and Nyla and John are, just driving, patrolling the streets together. And Nyla says she needs John's help with camping gear. And then, they're kind of going back and forth with their like, parenting and kind of a life update. So their partnership is something special because they both have kids or a child. They're a little bit like different in age, but they can still relate. They're both divorced. Like it just, their partnership is so good.
Yeah. Well, and I love the line of, I think John asks her, like, like, what would you do if Nyla's daughter, if she dropped out of second grade? And she just kind of, gives him a little side glance as she's driving, and is like, well, my baby girl never disappoint me like that. Like she is just she's so confident about her like her great parenting skills, which then implies John's lack of like parenting skills, which is like part of the joke. Oh, it's just funny.
Again, I say I just love Nyla Harper. I need every one of her sassy moments put into like a video, like 4 minutes of Nyla being sassy or something like that. And all of them gift. All of them. Just yeah.
Well, and if y'all didn't know also, just speaking of Makia being great, she was also on Chicago Med, which is part of the One Chicago universe. Yeah. And so that's, I mean, well, actually, I first saw her on 90210, which was even before that. But that's where a lot of people first that now watch The Rookie, that watch One Chicago too, will know her from as well. And
her character wasn't as sassy. We saw her more as like a, I don't know what you would say, polite.
Yeah, I was gonna say polite or like
nurturing,
like charming. Yeah, just very like
well, in Chicago Med, she obviously didn't play cop. I mean, that's a medical show. Right. She was a doctor and had like a whole story arc. So yeah, she was definitely a lot different than Nyla.
Yeah. Well, and she also worked with Eric Winter on Secrets and Lies, which was another ABC show from like not way back. Gosh, 2016 is not that far away. But yeah, which I didn't know, and if you guys didn't know, now you do, that they previously
little connections
worked together, which was great.
I mean, I remember like when I was binging season 1 and 2, I had pointed out that there was quite a few like One Chicago characters that had popped up in The Rookie.
Yeah. Well, then on the Secrets and Lies show, you had Charlie Bartlett from Chicago Fire. He played
Mhm.
Peter Mills. And then I'm going back to 90210 for 0.5 seconds because Annalyn McCord, who played Naomi Clark from that show, was also on Secrets and Lies. And just, no, okay. I'm done. I'm sorry, guys. I could go on and on all day long. Okay, we're
So
back.
then, yeah, going back to the rookie, let's shift back. So they like get a call to a bank robbery, and Nolan decides to get close to the robber while like Nyla kind of stays outside across the street with a sniper and motions for him to like go in, move closer. And so he enters the bank, talks the suspect down. Um, and he kind of brings up the bank robbery that he was a witness to before he became a cop. So again,
Yes.
we have another full circle moment.
Yes, because that was in the pilot, which, is
Yeah.
appropriate that it's brought up in this episode. That's our second podcast episode
Yeah.
since we just talked about the pilot in our first.
Um
So,
and so Nolan had the suspect like almost put his gun down, and the
mhm.
bank security officer shot him. Um so yeah, that was just I don't even know how to explain that, because I was like, he was so close to putting his gun
Yeah.
down, but also you don't know what he could have done. He
Mhm.
still could have kind of worked
Yeah.
his way around. The robber is unconscious and not breathing, and Nolan checked the gun and it was empty. So he was never gonna shoot a gun in the first place, but
Yeah.
you can never be too safe, I guess. So yeah, it was just interesting because I mean, he was putting it down. I mean, it was like right there, but
Mhm.
the security officer just decided not to, I guess. So
Yeah.
so then Nolan and Harper go to Cooper's house, which was the suspect, to give his wife Alice the death notification. But they notice her cell phone is ringing, or it has an alarm that's going off, but she's
Mhm.
not there. The door is slightly open, and now this death certification has turned into a welfare check, which then turns into an abduction.
Yes.
So the case kind of went from 0 to 100 quickly.
In literally 60 seconds
Yeah.
of
We
time.
find out that the wife and daughter are missing, and John kind of spirals with this, which I mean, obviously he should.
Mhm.
Um he just has a compassion for victims, and definitely tries to talk people down, but yeah, Nyla, I think, sensed that John was kind of, running with this. So,
Yeah. Well, and then like I feel like they like both, since we mentioned earlier, they both have kids. They're both obviously they're both parents. Like they both kind of shared a look of like, since it was a mom and daughter that were missing, obviously he's, possibly thinking like, oh, okay, this, it's not like it's, Nyla and her daughter, but like that kind of could have been a, thing that Nyla was thinking about, like what if
mhm,
it was her daughter that went missing, and just I don't know, I like thinking of little things like that because it
yeah,
like ties in their personal world with their work world,
yeah.
which is cool. So
So now that the case has like moved on to an abduction, it's now in the hands of the detectives. And we see Detective Carradine from Lucy and Jackson's first call.
yeah,
Um,
homicides on the case, guys.
yeah, but Nolan can't let it go because it's John Nolan.
Yeah.
But again, that's why we love him. He definitely takes everything and keeps it like close to his heart. So
Yeah. So that's kind of how, well, how they end their shift, like their first
mhm,
uh or the first part of the episode is the end of their shift now. And so Nyla, tries to remind him to, let things go and let it, sit because they can't do anything about it. And then, she has to come over to, drop by John's house and get this camping gear for this class camping trip overnight
something like that.
thing.
It was one
Yeah.
overnight.
hmm
So
which is, I don't actually know if we mentioned earlier, but it's she's, kind of a little more nervous about this because she had canceled on a date with the dad of one of Lila's classmates,
Mhm.
Alonzo, and he had canceled on her. They just kind of had this cancellation war of going back and forth and canceling on each other these dates. And so she wants to make a good impression on this camping trip, which wouldn't happen if she didn't have any gear with her, or like didn't look like she didn't know what she was doing,
Yeah.
which is why she wants the gear. And I just loved how like Mikia is so tiny and she's lugging all this gear around like in the next scene that we see her in and just drops it all on the
Yeah.
ground when she gets like she's so done with it, and I loved that. So it was, I mean, it was a nice scene because they got to share a beer. She wants actual food though,
Yeah.
and drinks and whatnot because I mean, she deserves it. So
Yeah.
there's maybe a future uh date that's going to happen with Nyla and Alonzo down the line. So
I hope so. She was a little nervous about it because it was her first kind of interaction with someone that was a male and not on the job since
mhm.
Donovan. But
Yeah.
the next day we see John and he's on the computer and Nyla comes in and he's cheerfully saying good morning, and she's dealing with little to no sleep. She says beds are made to be slept in, and so she's a little on edge with him and just says don't say words to me. That is me on Mondays. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
put that out there. Also, can someone gift that if that hasn't already been gift? Just her
Please.
saying don't say words to me because we need that
Same.
gift in the world.
Yeah.
But she basically wants a quiet shift, and obviously when you say that, it's probably not gonna happen.
It's kind of, wasn't there an episode that was literally, yeah, there was an episode that was literally called the Q word, which was like for quiet, quiet, which
Yeah.
was John jinxed her then, and he he went and jinxed it now.
Yeah.
Because Nyla just wanted some darn coffee. She just wanted
And
to
just to
park
like
on a
chill.
quiet street, yeah, and chill. But
Yeah.
no, because John, in all of his well-intentioned wisdom, um, decided to do a little bit more digging into where Alice works,
Yep.
which is in the Diamond District. And so he wants to go and talk to her boss and see if, she made any calls, if she showed up, if if anything happened. And Nyla's not having that.
Nope. She's like,
Nope.
what did you do? And just like her little head tilt and stuff, I was like, come on. I love it. And I love her.
Yeah.
But she just like walks away from him, and he's stoked about about his findings. She does not have the energy for him. And then we see them, driving to the Diamond District. So she, I think even though she was like, I just want a quiet shift, she was like, well, shoot, we can't just like let it be.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have to go do our job. So,
Mhm.
but she helps him stall the abductors while Lucy and Jackson like look for the girl. And
Yeah.
they always find a case where they can like come together and work as a group.
Mhm.
Whether, I mean, even if it's not all like six of them, it's at least four of them.
Yeah.
So everything happens so quickly once they find the girl.
Mhm.
They take the abductors down, the
Yeah.
girl and the mom are reunited.
Mhm.
But I loved when he was like, "Hey Harper, you want to have some fun?"
Please, I thought
And
Crystal, like her alter ego, that Titus Macon is such a big fan of, and we are too, honestly. I just thought Crystal was gonna come and have some fun. Like I thought she was gonna break out that undercover alter ego, but no, she still, I mean, she just uh like pulled over a different car to kind of block
yeah,
the van that was sitting outside of the bank with the robbers in it.
hmm
But still, I was here for it. I like that line of, hey Harper, you want to have some fun? Like,
yeah,
I don't know, their partnership has just gotten so
it seems like seamless.
yeah, and it's like a lot more like casual because like if you would have had him suggest something in season 2, episode 4, let's say, when we first meet Miss
hmm
Nyla Harper, she would have been like,
We're not
hell
doing that.
no, yeah,
Yeah,
no. But season 3, Nyla, she is, she's fine
she's
with it.
warming up to him. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Hmm.
But I do need Crystal to come back because
Please,
she is really interesting to watch.
please.
So, do you want to walk through John and Nyla walking out of the district at the end of the
Oh
day?
yeah. So well, it's kind of like their end scene anyway.
Hmm.
Is he is walking out with her, from the district, and it's before her date with Alonzo. And she's a little nervous, like we said earlier, there were a lot of cancellations. But then also, like Jennifer said, it's gonna be her first like major outing with someone that's not,
Or
in her job
yeah,
since her ex-husband Donovan. And I like Nolan's line of, it's just dinner with another human. If you don't, it was either if you don't like it or if you don't enjoy it, you don't ever have to see them again. And I don't know, just the way that Nathan Fillion delivered that line was just great. Like, I like how even though he probably knows that, like, she could just glare at him for the rest of time if he
yeah,
said something, like that could have been, misconstrued as like dumb, he still just tries to help and
yeah,
offer support anyway, which I just find great. So,
yeah. He like naively tries to help because when he said that, I was like, but she can't just like not talk to him again. Like their
that's
daughters are
true.
in class together or they go to like
That's
a
true.
school, so
Yeah.
she's not gonna get away from him. But
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah, he was
He
like
he tries.
naively trying to help her.
He tries.
Yeah,
So, good for him. We
yeah.
are we are all here for that. And then let's see, I am scrolling. Oh, okay. So like that's kind of where we leave off with uh Nyla, is
Hmm.
with that. And then well, I know I have in our lovely little notes that there was a thing that John and Ben were talking about earlier in the episode of how, Henry is set to make six figures and it's all about who you know in the
Yeah,
job world. And oh my goodness,
that's
relatable.
relatable.
Any 20 somethings, if you are, as we are, uh, either trying to find a job or, like chains, but just positions, I can't speak, moving up in the world, whatever it is, like that whole thing. Oh, hit
It's
me like,
relatable for anyone.
oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So I just wanted to point that out because I enjoyed that scene, even though it was like, oh, like sobering in a way.
hmm,
Um, but so for the actual end scene that we see for John, it's him going to meet with Ben to apologize for how he was kind of acting. Because I think it was Ben that had kind of pointed out, it was a line that I really liked. It was Henry had succeeded or
yeah,
was succeeding whereas he, might have thought he failed.
yeah.
Because, John dropped out of college when his
Wife got
wife,
pregnant.
yeah, and now here's Henry.
Hmm.
His life, is kind of paralleling that, not for the same reasons, which is what I kind of think makes the difference in John's eyes, I think, is like the reason why. Um, but anyway, so he apologizes to Ben. They kind of, it's just a nice, like, I don't know, friendship moment there because we don't really see, at least not in a while anyway, we haven't seen John interact with like friends
Hmm.
or anything. So it was just fun to have Ben back and
Yeah, it was a nice
uh,
end scene.
yeah. Hmm.
And kind of bring it back full circle too.
Yeah.
But then we have Sergeant Gray, and we didn't see him in a whole lot. Like we saw him just at the beginning and the end of the episode, but we
Hmm.
already kind of covered his little reprimand slash dig to Nolan,
Yeah.
and how he was sassy to Chen and West. But then at the end of the episode, he gave Chen and West a kind of a pep talk, and was like, I wasn't sure about you guys being partners on your first day, first 2 days. But I know that the transition from rookie to P2 isn't as always satisfying as officers think it's going to be. No parties, no cupcakes, no 30-year-old bottles of scotch. What about you, Officer Chen? Why'd you become a police officer? And here again, we hear her say, because I wanted to do something meaningful with my life, sir. And he counters it and says, are you? And she just says absolutely and looks back over to the mother and daughter.
Yeah, because they were reunited. That's the
Yeah.
whole resolution of that earlier case, is they got the little girl back to her mom. They are
Mhm.
all safe and sound and like that.
And it definitely gave her the boost of confidence
Yeah.
she needed, especially after the whole thing with her mom. But I hope that at one point she can like tell her mom, like, this is what I did. I was able to get a mother and daughter reunited.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe like, I don't know if Jackson would have mentioned that or not when he talked to her
yeah,
mom on the phone. I don't know.
because we find out that he talked to her mom after
Yeah.
Gray's pep talk. So
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would assume that Jackson would have been like, Lucy like did really good. You would have been really proud of her today.
Yeah, because they're both doing like, well, I mean, every single one of the people on that show is doing good work,
Mhm.
as the police officers, but especially in today's world, like the younger,
Yeah.
generation doing right by society is really uplifting to see.
Yeah.
So
But that kind of like wraps up the episode. Did we have any other notes on it? There was a lot to discuss.
yeah, there really was. Oh my gosh. We didn't have any other notes. Obviously, I mean, that last little point that I had said though kind of brought me back around to, like for next week's episode, they're tackling another real world issue of race and hate, and like
Mhm.
how that can kind of spin out into violence, which I know is not the like best thing to end this podcast on, but
Yeah.
I'm very interested in seeing what they do with that. Next week's episode, it's 312. It's New Blood
Mhm.
is what it's called, and that's their next new episode, and that's what we'll more than likely be covering
Yeah.
for next
I like
week's
that
podcast.
that they're tackling the real world issues,
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Other shows, I think we said that last week too, but other shows could learn a lot
yeah.
from what they're doing.
Yeah. In all aspects.
Mm-hmm.
But you can find us on Twitter at the Shop Talk Pod _ or email us at shoptalktherookiepodcast@gmail.com with all of your thoughts. You can find us individually on Twitter too. I'm JStark804.
And I am at Kari Hyman on Twitter.
Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week covering 312. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Go get 'em, boo.